Hi friends, and welcome to this week's video. I hope you had a lovely week. And now get ready for some relaxing embroidery. For the first time ever, I got the courage to do it. I tried embroidery, and it was incredibly relaxing. It did take a very long time, but I'd do it again, and probably I will do it again. For the subject of this embroidery, I chose to do a moth. The moth I designed is not a real moth, but a mix between a few moths and butterflies, so just something that I thought would look nice. So, since this is a mix between every pretty flying creature that I know of, I'm going to share with you a few facts about butterflies and moths, because I think they're really interesting. I wondered what is different between them, because they're technically kind of the same thing. Is the only difference that moths are nocturnal and butterflies are not? Well, there's quite a few differences. So, the first one starts in the metamorphism from caterpillar to butterfly, because caterpillars spin a pupae consisting of hardened protein. On the other hand, moth caterpillars form a silk pupae, which is known as a cocoon. But despite this being a generalized rule, there are some exceptions. Prime examples include gypsy moths, which form a pupae that resembles that of a butterfly, and the Parnassius butterfly, which makes a cocoon. There are quite a few differences as well when it comes to their general appearance. Widely speaking, moths tend to be stockier and have furry bodies, whereas butterflies are smooth and lean. This difference in appearance is due to scale size mostly. Another difference is their wing resting position. Moths tend to rest with their wings open, whereas butterflies tend to rest with their wings closed, which I find very annoying because every time I try to take a photo of a butterfly, they close their wings. However, though, if you get lucky to snap a picture of a butterfly with their open wings, you might get them while they are sunbaking. Then, if you look closely at the antennae of both moths and butterflies, you will notice a very different thing. They have completely different shapes, because moth antennae tend to be leaf or feather shape. I think they're so pretty and fluffy. I always enjoy when I get to draw them, and even in this embroidery it turned out to be such a fun thing to create. Now butterfly antennae tend to be long, bare, and eject from the shape in a club shape. And they also have a bulb at the end. Although this is normally the case, there are some moths that have slender antennae rather than feathered, such as the zodiac moth. However, the antennae on these moths tend to be straight rather than curved. Now, in general, moths also tend to be duller and less vibrant in color. They tend to have less intricate and striking patterns. Although this is a generalized rule, some moths are incredibly colorful. I'm thinking about the Luna moth, the Madagascar sunset moth, I think it was, and the maple moth, which is really pink and beautiful. So yeah, they can also have incredibly colorful and striking patterns. Now, when it comes to their feeding habits, butterflies and moths tend to feed the same way. They have proboscis, which is pretty much a tube that they drink sweet nectar from flowers with. Some butterflies also enjoy different sugary treat, which is fruit. They especially enjoy fully ripened and rotting fruit. And they do that because as fruit starts to decompose, it softens and becomes more liquid. But butterflies do not always eat for their own nourishment. There are many kinds of butterflies, usually male, which will feed on other moist substances like puddles, wet gravel, sweat, cats, and even tears. So don't cry near a butterfly, I guess. Now, what these butterflies are often doing is gathering salts and minerals to pass on to the female butterflies, which helps with egg development. So, I suppose they don't have deadbeat dads. Nice one, butterflies. Adult moths now live mostly on a liquid diet and require very, very little food. And they will also eat the nectar from flowers and as well liquids from rotting fruits, sap, honeydew, and they will even suck the nutrients from bird droppings or animal dung. Ew. So they can both be pretty gross, but mostly eat sweet nectar. A fun fact is that some moths don't eat at all. So the adult Luna moth, for instance, doesn't even have a mouth. After it emerges from its cocoon, it lives for about a week with its sole mission in life to mate and lay eggs. Pretty tragic. Now, the moth caterpillars need a lot more energy and will consume what they can find. They will eat leaves and plants in the wild, and if they get into a home, the mother moth will lay eggs in moist areas that may allow fungus to live. So, your sweaters stashed for the winter are a prime nesting site. The caterpillars will eat wool, silk, and even cotton and fur. And guess what? They will even eat pet fur if need be. A cool fact about moths is that they are great mimics. They are notorious for their ability to impersonate other animals. To avoid being eaten, some moths have evolved to look like less palatable insects, such as wasps, tarantulas, and the praying mantis. Some moths even mimic bird droppings. So next time when you try to wipe your car and the bird dropping just flies away, well, that was a moth. A cool thing is that some moths even make their own squeaking sound in order to confuse the bats hunting them. Some members of the tiger moth family, which in the daytime use bright colors to warn predators that they taste bitter, may use squeaks in the dark to warn bats of their bad taste. One of the most famously represented moths, and one of the most difficult for me to pronounce, the death's head hawk moth, uses squeaks to steal honey. This moth is large, heavy, so uses a lot of energy and it needs to refuel. Now, because bees will sting to death any thief entering their hive, this amazing moth makes squeaks which apparently sound like those of a queen bee. And so it will fool the worker bees into letting it enter the hive and eat their honey. But this isn't the only way moths pretend to be bees. The bee hawk moth has evolved to look just like a bumblebee. So this way predators think that they can sting and will leave them alone. A nice thing about moths is that they are important pollinators. While some of them can be agricultural pests, many of them are important pollinators, because their hairy bodies make moths pick up pollen from any flower they land on. In some parts of the world, moths are a major food source for people. I've read that more than 90% of people in some African countries eat moth and butterfly caterpillars. Because caterpillars are packed with protein and healthy fats, and just 100 grams of these insects provides more than 100% of the daily requirement of some vital minerals such as potassium, calcium, zinc, and iron. Pretty cool getting all the necessary supplements just from a couple of insects. That's pretty much everything I could gather on moths and butterflies, and I think I found some quite interesting information. It's always fun for me to delve deep into a new subject. I hope you enjoyed these few facts and maybe I started your curiosity into looking more into insects. And before I let you see the final result of my embroidery, let me tell you a couple of things about it. So this took me somewhere around 15 to 20 hours of constantly working on it. To be honest, I was aware and I was expecting that embroidery is a time-consuming process, but I was not expecting it to take this long. The cool thing though is that I did not actually get tired or bored while doing it. I learned to control the thread much better. It became easier and easier to figure out where to push the needle. It became easier and easier with each pass of the needle where I should stab the material and where I should pull the needle through, and it was fascinating to see such quick improvement in my capability of sewing this embroidery. It was a really fun thing to do. And like you see people knitting on the train or something, I might be the one doing embroidery. It was really fun, and I got so immersed into it that I did not realize how much time was passing while I was doing it. So this would be probably the best thing to do on a long trip. So this is everything from me this week. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Also, many thanks to my Patreons. I couldn't do it without you all, guys. You mean the world to me. Thank you for being there. So that's it. Until next week, stay spooky.